The forest was silent. Too silent. No wind moved the leaves. No night bird sang. Even the insects had stopped their sound, as if the world itself was holding its breath. Deep between the tall black trees, shadows moved without noise. Eyes glowed faint blue and gold in the dark. The pack was awake, they moved fast and low, their bodies strong and smooth like living shadows. Long claws touched the ground without sound. Their breathing was slow, controlled. This was not a hunt for food. This was a hunt for blood. Their cubs were missing, small tracks had led away from the den earlier that night. Tiny paw marks. Broken plants. A smell that did not belong to the forest. The pack had followed those signs with growing fear and anger. Cubs did not walk far alone. Something had taken them. Something dangerous. The alpha moved at the front. He was larger than the rest, his fur dark silver with old scars across his chest. His eyes were calm, but inside him burned a quiet storm. He lowered his head and breathed in deeply. The smell was clear now, human, fresh. Warm. Clothes that was not mixed with blood. Not mixed with fear. That made it worse. Humans were known across many worlds. They destroyed forests. They hunted for sport. They took what was not theirs and left nothing behind. The alpha had never met a human, but every story ended the same way, death. The alpha growled low in his throat. The pack felt it and spread out around him. Their ears flattened. Their teeth showed. Tonight, they would not run. Tonight, they would not hide. If a human had touched their cubs, there would be no mercy. The trail led out of the forest and into a clearing where the trees suddenly ended. The ground here was hard and strange, pressed flat by metal feet. In the center stood a small metal shelter. It was ugly and sharp-edged, nothing like the soft shapes of the forest. A weak yellow light shone from inside. The alpha stopped, the pack froze behind him. From inside the shelter came a sound, a heartbeat, slow. Steady. Human, only one. That the alpha felt confusion for the first time. Humans did not travel alone. They came in groups. They brought machines and weapons. This place had none of that. Only a single shelter. A single heartbeat. He moved closer, each step careful. His nose touched the cold metal wall. The human smell was strong now. But still, no blood. No fear. No death. That made the alpha angry. Humans kill. Humans take. Humans destroy. That was the truth of the galaxy. If this human had the cubs, then the cubs were already dead. Or worse, the alpha lifted his claw. One strike would open the shelter. One strike would end the human. The pack tensed, ready to follow. Then the door opened, light spilled out into the night, bright and sudden. The alpha blinked but did not move. The pack growled softly, their bodies ready to attack. The human stood there. He was smaller than the alpha had imagined. No armor. No weapon in his hands. His hair was dark, his face tired, his eyes wide with surprise. He smelled of metal, oil, and something else the alpha did not recognize. The human raised his hands slowly. He did not shout. He did not run. That alone was strange. The alpha stepped forward, his shadow covering the human. One breath. One move. It would be over. Then the alpha saw what was inside. His breath stopped. On the human's chest, wrapped in a soft cloth, lay the cubs, all of them. 3 small bodies curled together. Their tiny paws rested against the human's skin. Their ears twitched as they slept. Their breathing was slow and calm. Alive. Safe. Asleep. The pack froze. No one moved. No one breathed. The alpha's raised claw trembled. The cubs shifted slightly, pressing closer to the warmth beneath them. One small cub made a quiet sound in its sleep. The sound of safety. The alpha felt the world tilt. This was wrong. Humans did not protect. Humans did not care. Humans did not let their guard down with prey on their chest. Everything the alpha had been taught screamed that this was a trick, but the cubs were alive, and they were not afraid. The human swallowed hard. His voice was low and rough when he spoke, words the pack could not understand. But his tone was clear. It was not a threat. It was a plea. The alpha slowly lowered his claw, the forest remained silent, the pack waited, and for the first time that night, the alpha did not know if he had come to kill a monster, or stand before something far more dangerous than a protector. The alpha did not move, the pack did not breathe, the forest itself seemed afraid to make a sound. The human stood in the open doorway, frozen like stone. His arms were still raised, but they trembled now. He knew what stood before him. He could see the glowing eyes, the sharp teeth, the claws that could tear metal. One wrong move and his life would end in seconds. Still, he did not step back. The cub slept on his chest, warm and safe, unaware of death standing only steps away. Their small bodies rose and fell with each breath the human took. One cub slowly opened its mouth in sleep and made a soft sound. The alpha's ears twitched, that sound struck deeper than any claw. The alpha searched the human's face. He expected fear. He expected hate. He expected the wild look of a hunter caught in the act. Instead, he saw exhaustion. Dark shadows sat under the human's eyes. His skin was pale. His breathing was slow, careful, as if he feared even his breath might wake the cubs. This was not the face of a killer. This was the face of someone who had not slept. The alpha took one slow step forward, the pack growled, the human stiffened, but he did not lower his arms. He did not shield himself. He only shifted his body slightly, turning his chest away from the alpha, protecting the cubs. The alpha noticed that a low, confused sound left his throat. Why would prey protect what it stole? Why would a human stand still when death stood before him? The alpha stepped closer. Now he could smell everything. The cub's scent was clean. No harm. No blood. No pain. Only warmth. The human scent was strange, metal, sweat, fear, but beneath it was something else. Something old. Something familiar, care. The alpha's claws slowly sank back into the ground. His muscles remained tight, ready, but his mind was no longer clear with rage. The stories he had heard about humans did not fit what he saw. Behind him, one of the pack shifted. A younger hunter, teeth bared, eyes full of anger. He remembered the empty den. He remembered the fear of loss. The alpha raised his tail slightly. A command, wait. The pack obeyed. The human swallowed again. His voice came out rough and broken. He spoke slowly, not knowing if he would live another second. That I did not hurt them. The words meant nothing to the pack, but the tone meant everything. It was not a lie spoken in panic. It was steady. Honest. The human lowered his hands just a little, enough to adjust the cloth around the cubs. His movements were slow, careful, respectful. One cub shifted and pressed its head against his heart. The alpha saw it. The cub trusted this human. Trust was sacred. The alpha's mind returned to earlier that night. He remembered the storm. The toxic wind that had rolled through the forest without warning. He remembered ordering the pack to move the cubs deeper underground. He remembered the shaking ground. The panic. Then silence. The cubs had vanished after that. The alpha's chest tightened. The human turned slightly, allowing the alpha to see inside the shelter. It was small and simple. No weapons on the walls. No cages. No blood stains. Just tools, blankets, and a soft light meant to give warmth, not power. The alpha stepped inside. The pack gasped softly. No alpha entered enemy ground without killing first. The human did not stop him. Inside the shelter, the air was warm. Too warm for the forest. The cubs slept deeper here, their small bodies safe from the cold night. The alpha lowered his head close to them. He could feel their breath on his nose. Alive, safe. The human spoke again, his voice quieter now, almost afraid to exist. Storm bad air. They were alone. The alpha understood none of the words. But he understood the meaning. He understood the memory hidden behind them. The human pointed weakly toward the forest. then to the cubs, then to himself. His hand rested over his chest. "I stayed, that was all." The alpha's heart beat once. Hard, stayed. The alpha slowly circled the human. The human did not turn to follow him. He did not track the alpha like a hunter. He stayed still, letting his back remain exposed. That was not weakness, that was trust. The alpha stopped behind him. One strike. One clean end. That was how the story was supposed to go. That was how the galaxy said it always went, but the alpha remembered something else now. Long ago, before he was alpha, before his scars, he had been small. He remembered cold nights. He remembered warmth. He remembered a larger body curled around him, taking the wind, taking the danger, protecting. The alpha stepped back. Outside, the pack shifted in confusion. They waited for blood. They waited for the kill. It did not come. Instead, the alpha lifted his head and released a low call. Not a battle cry. Not a warning. A signal of pause. The pack froze. The human closed his eyes. He thought it was over, but the alpha did not attack. He lowered himself slow. The alpha sat inside the shelter, his large body filling the small space. The human stood only steps away, his back against the wall, his chest still rising and falling under the sleeping cubs. Neither of them moved. Outside, the pack waited in silence, confused and tense, ready to obey the alpha's next command, attack or retreat. The alpha studied the human again. This close, the human seemed even weaker. His skin was thin. His bones were light. His heart beat fast now, no longer calm. Fear had finally found him, but it had come late. The alpha wondered how long this human had carried the cubs. How long he had stayed awake. How long he had chosen not to run. The alpha lowered his head slightly. His eyes changed. A faint glow spread across them, soft and deep, like starlight beneath water. This was not a threat. This was an ancient gift of the pack. The alpha could see truth through living eyes. Not words. Not lies. Memory. The human gasped softly as the alpha's gaze locked onto his. The shelter disappeared. The alpha saw fire. He saw the human running through a broken forest, toxic wind tearing leaves from trees. He saw the cubs trapped beneath fallen roots, crying, their small lungs burning. He saw the human hesitate, just for a moment, calculating risk, then he ran toward them. The alpha felt the human's fear then. Real fear. Fear of death. Fear of pain. But stronger than that was something else, choice. The human had chosen to act. The alpha saw the human pull the cubs free with bare hands, skin tearing, blood mixing with dirt. He saw the human wrap them in his jacket, shielding them from the toxic air with his own body. He felt the burning in human lungs. The pain. The struggle to breathe. The human could have survived alone. He chose not to. The alpha felt the weight of hours pass. Long hours. The human stayed awake, coughing, shaking, holding the cubs close as the storm raged. He spoke to them softly, even though they could not understand. He kept them warm with his own heat. When the storm ended, he carried them here. He stayed. The alpha broke the connection. The shelter returned. The alpha's breath was heavy now. His claws dug into the floor. He had seen many hunts. Many deaths. Many acts of survival. But this was different. This was sacrifice without reward. The human opened his eyes slowly. Tears stood in them, unfallen. He did not know what the alpha had seen. He only knew that something important had passed between them. The alpha rose. Outside, the pack tensed, expecting the final decision. Before the alpha could speak, the ground shook. A low vibration rolled through the forest. Not thunder. Not storm. Machines. The alpha's ears snapped upright. His head turned toward the trees. The pack growled in warning. The human felt it too. His face changed. Fear sharpened, focused, not safe. He whispered. The alpha stepped out of the shelter. From the forest edge, dark shapes moved between the trees. Tall. Thin. Metal and flesh combined. Their eyes burned red. Their scent was wrong, cold, empty, hungry. The Alpha knew this smell from ancient memory. Harvesters, they did not hunt for food. They hunted for life. The pack spread out instantly, forming a wall between the shelter and the forest. The Alpha stood at the center, his body low, ready for war. But the enemy did not charge. They watched. They scanned. One of them spoke in a sharp mechanical sound, targets located. Juveniles detected, the cubs, the Alpha roared, the sound shook the shelter walls. The pack answered with a unified cry that echoed through the forest like a living storm. The harvesters paused, recalculating. The human stepped forward. The Alpha felt it before he saw it. The human moved between the pack and the shelter. Between death and the cubs. The Alpha growled. The human did not understand the word, but he understood the meaning. Still, he did not move back. He placed one hand over the cubs, his other hand shaking as he reached for a small device on his belt. Not a weapon, a signal. The Alpha realized then that the human had no plan to survive. Only a plan to protect. The harvesters raised their weapons. Time slowed. The Alpha looked at the human one last time. In his eyes, he did not see fear anymore. He saw resolve. The kind of resolve that made weak bodies stand against impossible odds. The Alpha stepped forward, placing himself beside the human, shoulder to shoulder. The pack followed. For the first time in pack history, they did not fight for territory. They did not fight for dominance, they fought for a human, and somewhere deep in the Alpha's chest, an ancient truth awakened. The galaxy was wrong about humans. They were not destroyers, they were guardians. And guardians were the most dangerous beings of all. The first shot cut through the forest like lightning. Trees exploded into splinters. Dirt and fire filled the air. The pack scattered on instinct, moving faster than sound, claws digging deep into the ground as they closed the distance. The Alpha roared again, louder than before, his voice carrying command, rage, and unity. The harvesters advanced. They did not rush. They never rushed. Cold logic guided their steps. Red eyes scanned, calculated, and selected targets. Their weapons charged again, humming with deadly light. The human moved. He pushed the cubs back inside the shelter and slammed the metal door shut. He knew the shelter would not hold forever. He knew this might be his last moment. Still, his hands did not shake as he turned back toward the fight. The Alpha saw him grab a fallen harvester weapon from the ground. It was heavy. Too heavy. It burned his skin, but he held it anyway. Not to attack. To distract, the human fired the weapon into the trees, drawing the harvester's attention away from the pack. The shot went wide, useless as a kill, but perfect as bait. The harvesters turned. That was the Alpha's moment. He leaped. His body became a living weapon, crashing into the nearest harvester with crushing force. Claws tore through metal and flesh. The pack followed him like a storm, striking from all sides, fast and merciless. The forest echoed with battle cries, steel screams, and tearing earth. One harvester fell, then another, but more came. The Alpha felt pain explode across his side as a beam struck him midair. He hit the ground hard, rolling through dirt and fire. The pack cried out, but he rose again, blood dark against his fur. The human saw it, something inside him broke. He ran toward the Alpha. He shouted, the word raw and full of fear. The Alpha did not understand the word, but he understood the sound. The human reached him, grabbing his fur, pulling with all his strength. Weak arms. Fragile body. Useless against war machines, and yet, he stood there. A harvester aimed directly at them. The Alpha turned. He placed himself in front of the human. The beam fired, pain tore through the Alpha's back, burning deep. He roared but did not fall. He did not move. He took it all behind him. The human screamed. The pack went wild. They attacked with fury that shook the forest. They climbed, tore, and ripped until machines fell apart under living rage. One by one, the harvesters collapsed, sparks dying into silence. The last harvester tried to retreat. It did not make it far. The Alpha ended it with a single strike. Silence returned. Smoke drifted through the trees. Burned metal cooled in the dirt. The pack stood still, breathing hard, bodies marked with wounds and victory. The Alpha swayed, the human caught him. Together, they stood. Slowly, the Alpha lowered himself to the ground. The human pressed shaking hands against the burned wound, trying to stop bleeding he could not understand. His eyes were wide, full of fear and regret. "You saved me," the human whispered. The Alpha looked at him, then with great effort he lowered his massive head. "A bow," the pack gasped. An Alpha never bowed, but this Alpha did. The human froze, unable to breathe. The shelter door opened. The cubs stepped out. They walked past the pack. Past the battlefield. Past the fallen machines. Straight to the human. They climbed onto his chest again, curling against him like they belonged there. One cub licked his cheek. Another pressed its head under his chin. "Safe," the Alpha watched. He felt no anger, only truth. Days later, word spread across the stars. Not of a battle. Not of machines destroyed, but of a pack that stood beside a human. Of an Alpha who bowed. Of cubs who chose a fragile creature with no claws. Other species listened. Some laughed. Some feared, but the ancient ones understood. They remembered the old rule of the universe: the most dangerous beings are not those who hunt, they are those who protect. And that is why, when humans walk quietly through the galaxy, even the strongest predators step aside, because they know that if a human chooses to stand for you, they will never run.